have announced the Spotlight banner. So, Echo, Hawkeye spin-off series that apparently they're doing, which I assume would feature the Haley Steinfeld version of Hawkeye. Although that was news to me until I saw this article, by the way. I didn't even know they were making that, but fine. Marvel have released a new...
neither did I.
Yeah.
I don't think they announced that.
Yeah, weird, right? Well, who cares? Yeah, I mean, I want to see that, so look, fine. Like, I'm going to breeze right over that because that sounds good. I liked Hawkeye. It was a fun little show. I liked Haley Steinfeld's character. Bring it on. Like, I'm in. So they did a screening this week of the first 2 episodes of Echo, is my understanding. And they announced, because it starts with a brand new logo that like flickers and becomes Marvel Spotlight. So they've announced that basically less MCU continuity adjacent shows that are a bit more street level. So probably the new Daredevil series, when it gets off the ground too, I imagine, will come under this banner. And it's kind of like, it's in the MCU, but it's not necessarily going to be about whatever the big MCU thing right now is. It's free to be its own thing. Echo will be the first show under that banner, which is coming out now. They've announced, I think, 10th of January next year, which is pretty soon, and I'm quite excited about. We'll talk about that in a minute because they've released a trailer. But yeah, how do you feel about them doing a little sub banner? Because they've got another sub banner they've yet to use more than once, which is the what did they call it last year when they had the Halloween special? Special presentation.
Special presentation. That's it. Did they not use that banner for the Guardians Christmas special?
Oh,
as well?
you know what? They probably did. You're right. That's a really good point. Yeah, holiday special presentation. You're absolutely right. My apologies. They've used it twice, but they've nothing else on the docket, as far as I'm aware, is using that. Like,
your point
two
is,
things.
Your point is still valid. Yeah. I wasn't arguing against you.
No. But thank you for reminding me, because I would have got 1,000 comments. But like so for those who aren't aware, last year they did Werewolf by Night and the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Right, so it was 2 specials that were seasonal themed. Werewolf by Night was the Halloween one, which they re-released in color this year. I didn't bother watching it because if I went to watch it again, I'd watch it in black and white. It looked great in black and white. Why would I watch a color version of a thing that was designed to be in black and white? Really strange choice. Whatever. I'm sure some people got a kick out of it. But I probably will, like, next Halloween, I probably will just give that a watch again, Werewolf by Night. I really enjoyed it. It was a bit too fresh this year to go back and rewatch it. But I think next year I'll be quite happy to watch that at Christmas again. But yeah, so they released... They had a little banner that went in front of those called Special Presentation, which basically means short form, less than an hour, little special movie set in the Marvel Universe, essentially. They've now got a banner for these sort of street-level series. I'm a little worried we're back to the Netflix-averse, but by accident.
Yeah, here's the thing. I like it because I like street-level stuff, and I'm excited to potentially see more street-level stuff. I don't think, as you've pointed out, the special presentation is only on 2 things. I don't think it means we'll see more street-level stuff. And to be honest with you, I don't think it solves the problem, which is that, they put by separating, and I think this problem exists on 2 levels. This problem exists in the, to coin a phrase you've used before, the we's and the not we's. Do you know what I mean? The we's are the people like us that are, listening and recording podcasts about television and follow this shit and all of that stuff. And the not we's are the casual viewers, right? And I think on a we level, by differentiating the Disney Plus shows so hard with this whole, it all matters, it all makes a difference. This isn't separate stories. It's all connected. This is the difference now. That stuff before, the TV shows before, wasn't connected, even though we said they were at the initial time. But anyway, let's ignore that. It's all connected. And it's like, okay, fine. And they actually stuck to that as well. I think Doctor Strange 2 plays very differently if you've seen WandaVision. They have stuck to that at a level that I don't personally think was sensible. And I think it's created 2 problems where you've got we's that are confused and potentially going, well, I don't know, I haven't seen this, so should I bother seeing this? The Marvels is going to be very interesting, and whatever happens, those that like the Marvels will blame its performance on the strikes, and those that don't like the Marvels will blame their performance on wokeness. So that's just going to happen regardless. We're not going to do you know what I mean? Both sides are going to blame something. But I think,
and you know, and as always, the answer will probably in this case lie in the middle, right? There's a bunch of people that are genuinely out there being snarky that Brie Larson's getting to make another movie, and they didn't like Ms. Marvel for its representation, that will ignore this movie. But also, I do think it's fair to say this has been not promoted at all as a movie, and the audience that went and saw Captain Marvel don't necessarily even know this exists.
Yeah, and you've got a third level connected to all of what we're discussing at the moment, which is that there will be people going, I didn't watch Miss Marvel. They absolutely should, but that's a secondary thing. Well, I didn't watch Miss Marvel. I didn't watch WandaVision. Whatever, and I think that is harming them. And by doing this sort of sub banner, essentially going, well, if you don't want to watch that, you don't need to watch that. Don't worry about that. I don't think that will solve that problem, though, because that's what people are doing anyway. Like, there are huge Marvel fans that have not seen everything. I've not started Loki yet. Now, that's just, I've not started Loki yet. But do you know what I mean? If it weren't for this podcast, there's shows I wouldn't have finished.
Well, let me ask you this question, though, Chris. Because I agree with you, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here, though. But do you not think by giving them the freedom to do street-level shows that literally aren't connected, they're more likely to get better shows from it that then people want to watch? Like what happened with Andor, which was just this surprise sort of success in the Star Wars universe, where there was a show that didn't need to link to Clone Wars and fucking Force Awakens and all that stuff, and it was free from all that continuity except for the fact that it's using a character that appeared in one of the movie. But it doesn't even really, it wasn't about that movie. Like, almost nothing from Rogue One was really dealt with in Andor, other than the fact that Andor was present. Right, as a character.
Yeah.
So but they haven't. So do you not think that there's a chance that by doing this, by saying, okay, the shows no longer need to be directly connected. Yes, you're giving some people the off-ramp if they don't want to watch it, but then you're giving the creatives the freedom to do a show that doesn't need to be linked to 10 other things, and therefore might end up producing better shows that with word of mouth might lead to more people watching them. Like, in a weird sort of backdoor way.
I completely agree with that logic, but equally I go, if Echo is a comparative success to Andor, fucking Echo's turning up in a movie. Do you know what I mean? I don't believe that it will.
That's a really good point.
They'll stick to that. Like, and I just and I don't believe so. To link it into the reason this story is last is because trailers be trailering this week is Echo. Mm-hmm. To link it into that, I think that Echo trailer looks great, but I don't trust it because I'm also sat there going, you framed this with Kingpin. Kingpin could be in 1.5 episodes. There's not enough Kingpin in that trailer to makes me think he's definitely categorically in the show. And also part of me goes, if Kingpin was in this show as much as the trailer's making it out to be, this show would be called Echo and Kingpin. Because do you know what I mean? Even when they've got this spotlight thing, they're still pinning that trailer on something unconnected. They're all something connected to the wider MCU world, you know?
Right, but I suppose it depends what you mean by connected to, because so Andor is technically connected to Rogue One because it has a character from it. But there's a difference between being connected because you've got characters that happen to be in both properties, and a difference between things that are connected because the stories and plot lines of that thing will carry into something else. So WandaVision, for example, right, was a huge chunk of Wanda Maximoff's character arc that deeply informs what she then does in Doctor Strange, right? Mm. Whereas Kingpin being in this show, and he's in the show, there's plenty of footage of him in the trailer.
Yes, yeah.
How much is definitely up for debate. whether he's just in it for a couple of episodes where she's thinking about her past more, I don't know. But they definitely did focus the trailer around him, which I think was smart and has definitely gotten a lot of people very excited.
Yeah, and
it might lead to disappointment if he's not in the show much.
Given what he's wearing in one of the clips, he is in it in modern. He is in it
correct.
Relative to the show recent times as well.
Yes, agreed. But using a character that's been in other things, but not actually making a story beat that's going to then follow into anything else. The character might appear in other things. Kingpin will likely be in the new Daredevil show. I don't think anyone is. I mean, Daredevil briefly appears in this trailer. So
yeah.
But using a character is not the same as this is one part of a character's journey. You'll get the conclusion to it or the next step in it in another product, which is what they did with WandaVision and arguably what they're doing with the Marvels and Miss Marvel.
Yeah, and I think they're going to for all the things we've been talking about. I think they're going to stop doing that moving forward. I think it's also though this Marvel spotlights thing almost feels like It doesn't feel story-led. It feels marketing-led, and it feels like potentially. I mean, it's the second thing. Like I say, I think Echo looks great, but between them chucking up all 6 episodes at once, which could be to try something different.
Well, is that still happening now? Because that was when it was due for release in November. I'm actually not sure that's still the plan.
I think that trailer ends with all episodes streaming. And then the day, I think I might.
Okay. Let me double check that. But yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I didn't know that. But I'll take a look at that while you're talking. Sorry.
Between that and Echo didn't do very well according to our numbers metric data. Yeah, but it's Spotlight doesn't need to. Like it's just it's street level thing. We don't expect it to get the numbers as everything else. The problem is there's so much behind the scenes drama on all of this shit now. Yeah. Like here's a question for you, Dan.
Are you not assuming a lot of that though? Like couldn't it also be argued that they're looking at it because we know that creatively they're revamping Marvel Television, right? So you're saying that you think this Spotlight thing is marketing led. I think you as a person could legitimately argue it's creative led in that the reason they think the shows aren't working creatively is because they're so tied into all the other stuff and they're looking to free them, let them off the leash to be their own thing. And Spotlight might be their way of doing that so that the creatives can just do shows without worrying about the wider continuity.
And I don't think that's a bad idea, but equally also, they seem to be slowing down. It used to be, if a character walked by the background, it would be like, that character's getting a spin-off. Like, so I think that how much availability there is to do that will be interesting. I think the other thing is, that's what I was about to say. How much, what do you think the figure is? What do you think the money truck is? With everything going on with this, with all the trouble with, the Kang dynasty losing directors and writers, and, the Jonathan Majors thing is a part of that as well. Mm-hmm. With, Blade in trouble, with all the trouble aboard ship Marvel at the moment. Mm-hmm. What do you think that money truck, that check looks like that they've slipped under the Russo brothers and Marcus and McFeely's noses? Because surely that's do you know what I mean? Surely they've had that discussion of, we need to offer them whatever we need to offer them.
I think that check might very well be blank and they can just fill in their own number. I think that wouldn't surprise me, because there's also been rumours this week of them reaching out in a scramble to original Avengers that have since retired as well. There's been rumours this week of Robert Downey Jr. being courted to come back. There's been rumours of Chris Evans being courted to come back too. Now, I think that's an overcorrection, personally. I think they need to sort out the Jonathan Majors. They need to sort out the Jonathan Majors thing. And if that's replacing him essentially with Doctor Doom, fine. On board, no problem, just do that. But I think they need to stick to their current plan for the longevity of the series, because you can give it a little shot of adrenaline by bringing back a Downey Jr. or a Chris Evans, but that's not forever. If you want to make a wise business decision for your future, what you do now is you build a genuinely compelling sort of new Avengers team with the characters you have, led by a Doctor Strange or a Spider-Man or whatever.
And you've got so many characters there, like, for the taking. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it is insane that you and I are going, Oh, it's Haley Steinfeld doing a Hawkeye series? Like, of course she should be. You've got Oscar Isaac sat there. I know that show, did various degrees of success, but I don't know, man. It's nuts. And I think I agree with you that I think those reports have been slightly overblown, because if you're doing Secret Wars, you're already having that conversation with them anyway. Like, that's not like necessarily bringing them back.
But if that is the move, I still think
Wars.
from Marvel's perspective, that move would be an overcorrection. If that is what they're planning, they don't need to do that. Focus on building your new team, not looking back to the old team.
And you could Doctor Doom. And for me, I know they did that shot of like a million Jonathan Mayers. Is it Majors or Majors?
I've always said Majors, but who knows?
Majors. Okay, we'll go with Majors. I know they've got that shot of like a million Jonathan Majors in that arena. I think that was in Quantum Mania, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm like, you literally have a villain that has variants. Just fuck it. Just recast Kang, and it's a different variant, looks different. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think that problem, if you're that far down the line and just scrapping it all completely isn't a viable option anymore, then just have a new actor and have it a variant.
Has he been on screen enough for it to be a big deal that they just recast him? Like, because I don't even think you need to address it. I don't even think you need a stray line where Loki's like, he looks different, and Owen Wilson's like, oh wow, I think it's like a different variant. I don't need that. I don't even need that. Just recast. It's fine. Like, it won't be a problem. Just pin it on some other actor. Just let some other actor play it. Like, do a War Machine. Do a War Machine. Just recast.
It's so fun.
You know what? Actually, give it to Terrence Howard.
Or Edward Norton is your other choice.
Let Edward Norton or Terrence Howard take over the role of Kang.
I think
the funniest possible thing you can do.
The other thing with it is, isn't it funny that on reflection?
Yeah.
Because when they, and I think I assume we had this discussion on the podcast, and we certainly had it privately. Isn't it funny that on reflection, when they came out and announced all the Disney Plus shows, and Kevin Feige was so firm on, these will matter, these will make a difference. Isn't it funny that everyone's kind of disbelief of that? So basically, the conversation we had at the time was, well, certainly I assume we did. I remember I felt like this was, well, they're probably going to inform, but they're not going to connect. So you'll have an enhanced viewing and understanding if you've seen the Disney Plus shows, but you won't categorically have needed to see the Disney Plus shows. Isn't it so funny that sort of slightly pessimistic attitude, on reflection, probably would have been better?
Well, I don't even think on reflection it would have been better. I think that's the reason we were yearning for that. I think that's the reason, because we wanted them to be in universe and not we didn't want a question mark over whether they were connected or not. Because that was the frustration with the Marvel Netflix shows, was like they would talk about the incident and you'd be like, do they mean the first Avengers movie, the Battle of New York? Is that what they're referring to when they say the incident? Like, it was all very vague and like weird. So we wanted firm, yes, it's in the same universe, but we also wanted creatively, and I think, for the shows to be able to stand on their own, but not be essential, because I think both you and I felt the same way, which is that it would actually be a very big mistake to make the shows essential viewing for the films. The films should stand on their own, the shows should stand on their own. You should be able to watch any one of them, or any selection of them that you feel interested in, without fear of not being like informed. And that is the problem that comic books have had for 1,000 years, and I thought they'd be smart enough to avoid that. But the biggest issue with comic books, always, in terms of their sales and getting new viewers, is the front cover of Amazing Spider-Man says Amazing Spider-Man 746 or something, and you're just like, fuck, like, where do I start? I mean, when I started in comics, we had Marvel Knight Spider-Man, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and they were running stories across all three that were connected, and you felt the need to read all three books to understand what was going on. And then Spectacular Spider-Man for a period of time as well. So, and that was an issue. It was a struggle for people to get into them. The fact that they've not The fact that the fucking people at Marvel Movies and Television, didn't identify that would be bad from minute one, when it's been a problem in comic books for as long as they've existed, is insane. Because it's always that thing of like comic books constantly reboot and do a new issue 1, and then eventually go, well, actually, that was issue 400 and something. We renamed it issue 1 at the time because it was a jumping on point, you know. And it's something we're going to talk about later on today. I think we'll do a little extra bit where we do a little brief Doctor Who chat. And Doctor Who's potentially doing some rebranding of the next series that I do not care for because I think it's fucking foolish. But anyway, but it's the same,
I'm still not
the same problem.
That'll be our after credits thing because I was thinking of exactly that as you were talking, and it will. Yeah, we'll make that our after discussion because I'm still not convinced that he didn't just mean Disney Plus. But I agree with you. It's a problem if he didn't. But we'll talk about that in the after credits.
Yeah, but I'm in a weird position where I'm looking at this, going like, you're right. We were thinking that at the time, but we were thinking that at the time for the reasons they should have been thinking about that at the time, which is that yes, be in the same universe because that's the brand, and people like knowing that these shows are shoulder to shoulder, but they don't need to be arm in arm. There's a difference. There's a difference between this is categorically set in the same universe and this show literally needs to be watched or you won't understand the next movie, which is a fucking foolish thing to do. Really foolish. So,
it might prove to be that I don't think it will be because Isaiah Bradley's back and stuff for the movie, but there could be a world where the next Captain America movie executes it perfectly. For those that saw Endgame, he's now Captain America. For those that saw the show, we know the journey it took to get him to accept that. You know what I mean? That could be. I don't think it will be because there are characters from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier in the movie.
But again, characters don't necessarily mean plots. And I think you're right. I think what they've done with Captain America and Winter Soldier versus Captain America 4 is what they should have been doing for all of these. Like a show that informs the next step in the journey. And then, if you've watched it, thumbs up, you've seen a bit more and you maybe got some more context. But if you watch the movie just is perfectly sensible on its own, works on its own. And we'll see, when the Marvels comes out, whether they act as though we're establishing Ms. Marvel for the first time, for anyone who'd missed the show, or if they assume that knowledge of her world.
I don't like what they're doing with that either. Like this whole, it's not got good tracking, and now suddenly it's X-Men. Maybe there's cameos. It's like, well, that didn't work out too hot for Doctor Strange 2, did it? But if you want to go down that route, all right, okay.
So we'll see. So in conclusion, I think the Echo trailer does look good. It could be deceiving because we were all. Oh, I checked by the way. All episodes streaming January 10th, so they're still sticking with that format of just dumping the whole thing. That is right, you were correct. Well remembered. Madness. I still think they should do it week to week, but whatever. I think, a little shot of Daredevil in the trailer probably goes a long way. Bit of Kingpin in the trailer goes a long way. There's a chance this is a very good trailer in that it is selling us a show that might not be as good as the trailer looks, and there might be a lot of disappointment. Yeah. There is absolutely a chance that it is an extraordinarily good trailer.
It looks very compelling. It looks very dramatic. Tonally, it looks great.
Yeah, it looks completely different to anything else that Marvel have done. I'm in, but we'll see.
I do genuinely hope it's. It does look great. Like it's got me more excited than the Secret Invasion trailer. Even and I think again, Secret Invasion suffered on. Yeah, we talked about it at the time, but that's another good example where you say Secret Invasion, everyone's thinking, there's going to be cameos and there's going to be all sorts of shit. And are they a Skrull? And it didn't work out. But anyway, so I think this trailer looks fantastic. And you know what? It might not be the worst thing dumping it all at once. Like Jess didn't finish Secret Invasion because the first few episodes didn't particularly grip her. Maybe if that's the case with Echo, and we're watching it and we've got, we're watching it on a lazy Sunday, maybe we watch it all just because it's like, well, it's there. It's gonna tick over anyway. It might hook us in, as Secret Invasion did with me by the end. Not the very last
I'll tell you
episode,
one of the thing that I did enjoy actually, or one thing that got me a bit excited was at the end of the trailer. There's another little message after the all episode streaming January 10th. That says, set your Disney Plus profile to TVMA in order to stream. TVMA is mature. So this is going to be the only Marvel show that's inaccessible to young people if you've got your TV set up that way, which says that the show might be a bit more violent, a bit darker, which I don't necessarily dig out shows like that or for that reason, but what that tells me is this show will have a different tone to other Marvel shows. I don't care specifically. I don't go, God, I hope my Marvel shows are all going to be really bloody and violent. But what I'm saying is by them doing that tells me this show will have a different approach to the other shows. And I'm looking for my Marvel shows to be different from each other. I think that it's such an interesting world with a lot of potential for stories with different tones and genres. I like that they're willing to make a show that's more adult aimed.
Yeah, and I think they tried to they're doing that with the content of the trailer as well. You know, the shot of Wilson Fisk's bloody fist and like dripping blood from his knuckles and all that sort of stuff. Is,
agreed.
Yeah, there's a tone. There's a tone there.
So look, this could be a trick, and maybe the show's a big pile of shite, and they hired a very good company to put together a trailer that makes it look deeply compelling. But definitely the most interested I've been in a Marvel show for a little while. So
yeah,
shrug.
Go for it.
Yeah, shrug indeed.